Hello friends, and welcome back to this episode of Escaping the Mouse. Now, in addition to what I showed you in yesterday's video, I also got three photo books that included hundreds and hundreds of photos from the formative years of my grandmother's life, all the way up into her adulthood. Let's go take a look at those now. And then we have a series of photo albums from my grandmother, and this just has the real treasures. I'm going to actually take the bottom two and kind of push them out of the way for now. But we're going to thumb our way through each of these here, and let's take a look at what's in there. Nicholas and Joanna Cray. I don't even know who that is. They're obviously way, way, way back. I mean, look at that photo. And then this is her later on in her years. Earlier, Elizabeth Cray, Margaret Cray, Anna Cray. I mean, these photos are all over 100 years old. Elizabeth and Margaret when they were kids. And apparently the Crays had a shoe store in St. Paul, and that is a photo of the front of it, and that's their house in Oakdale, on Oakdale Avenue in St. Paul. Okay, I know that name. That's Charles Brocky. That's my grandmother's grandfather. So yeah. Because Charles Brocky was the father of William G. Brocky, and William G. Brocky was my grandmother's father. So that's my great-great-grandfather right there. Like I said, I gotta go figure out who all these people are, because, you know, here we go. This is him. Here's another copy of that same photo, different version of it, and so. That's his wife, so that's my great-great-grandmother. Looking at who these people are here. Okay, so this is her and three of her sisters. Top row, Clara, Josephine Brocky, and Anna Marie. Bottom, Margaret. So this is her. This is her many years later. And this is my great-grandfather as a baby, probably about a year old. You can see why I'm excited about all this, right? I mean, I saw these pictures many, many years ago, and you know, because my grandmother had them, and she showed them to me once, and none of the pictures had any labels. I said, you know what, I'm going to really want these at someday, but it's going to mean way more if I know who these people are. So she spent a lot of time marking these so I'd know who all these people are. So, yeah. Second from the left, William G. Brocky. And I can totally see that because he looks like my dad a little bit. Looks like a younger version of my dad. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus here. Yeah, he looks a little like my dad. Top row, fourth. So... yeah, that's William Brocky, my great-grandfather again. Some of my family members here. This is my great-great-grandfather on my dad's side, his mom. So that was my paternal grandmother's grandfather. So that goes way back. That's another photo of my great-grandfather as a baby, and another one. And another one, and another one, and that's him, and that's my great-grandfather, and my great-great-grandfather, and great-great-grandmother. See what I mean about treasure trove? Holy cow. And that was their home in St. Paul. And William Brocky, that's of course once again my great-grandfather. And here's another photo of him. sitting at a piano. So you can tell music was big in that family even back in those days. And then we're starting to get into the next generation. That's my grandmother right there, and her older brother William. Dorothy again, my grandmother, and grandmother and her brother, and my grandmother and her mom. You know, all these great photos. It's funny, this tree apparently was in their front yard, because that's the same tree that's here, and then they're sitting here. And a number of years ago, my grandmother took me to this house, and that tree is still there, with that funny little branch that people sit on. Another photo of my grandmother and her brother, and her basically with her face all messed up with ice cream or something. Yeah, what do you think of that bite? Are you impressed? Huh? And there's a picture of her also again when she was young. So that's the whole family there. Mother, father, my grandmother, and her older brother. See, there's a lot of them. Cute kid, huh? So that's her brother later on in life. You know, just a lot of photos there. That's father and daughter and son. Now this is getting a little older here. Each of these photos are captioned here separately. So this was the Brocky Christmas tree. This is Dorothy Brocky about age 9. Again about age 9. Age 11. And these two are of her age 17. This is when she was starting to get into her singing career. This is more kind of glamour shots of my grandmother. The caption says, you're age 18 to 22 approximately. According to the caption on this was a fishing trip that my grandmother took when she was about 16 years old. Looks like they caught a few. The William Brocky family when William and Dorothy were teenagers. So, yeah, William, both of them. That's my grandma Dorothy. At their house. So that's just photo book number 1. Let's open up the next one. Now this one is listed as book 2, and it's from 1932 to 1952, and it's subcaptioned operas, solos, recitals, choir, wedding, and fishing. So let's dig through that, because remember I told you my grandparents were both opera singers. So yeah, that's my grandmother down here at the bottom. And there she is again. Beautiful hair, right? And this is a bulletin or a, you know, it lists all the performances, and there's her name. You know, these are like, you know, publicity shots and stuff like that. This one's dated 1931. There's an excerpt from the newspaper clipping. So that's my grandmother again, Dorothy Brocky, standing up. Another photo from the same photo shoot. Only my grandmother's seated this time. Another program from one of her performances. See, she was a soprano. And this one they performed together because my grandfather was a bass. Or was a baritone, actually. Dated 1934. This is a program from their performance of Samson and Delilah. And I see my grandpa was there. I don't see Grandma, but maybe she wasn't in this one. You know, they didn't all perform together. But actually, it would seem that she did, though, because here's a publicity photo, and that's definitely her right there. So apparently, she just didn't end up on the front page, but that doesn't mean she's not in there somewhere. Because apparently she was, because she's in the photo. Okay, this was my grandmother and grandfather's wedding announcement. So that was in the newspaper. There's the newspaper article right there, and the photo that the picture came from. And then here's a bunch of other stuff from the wedding, a newspaper article, and then of course that photo. And her maid of honor, and then there's the official photo and the newspaper article when they got married. You know, it's really cool to have the newspaper article and the original photo. You know, there's so many cases in this notebook where that's what happened. There's the wedding photo of both of them. See, that was just her with the dress, and then my grandmother and grandfather. I've seen that picture a lot of times because they had that one hanging in. They had that one hanging in their house, and the entire wedding party. And then their fishing trip, I guess. Maybe they went on a fishing trip for their honeymoon. Did they? No, this was a year later, 1938, July of 1938. But yeah, you can't be a Roll or a Wallstrom if you don't know how to fish. Let's just put it that way. And that's my grandmother's high school graduation photos. And I guess a publicity photo or something from when she was a soloist at Miriam Park Church. Well, that one says it's the graduation class from the 8th grade, and I'm not sure which one's my grandmother in that, but I am guessing that's why that's in there. Luther League Camp, Dorothy Roll. Okay, so that's my grandmother and then somebody's daughter. That's a passport photo from 1967. Another passport photo from 1972. And that's their church choir. Let's see, I haven't even seen this photo here. See if I can find it says the names are on the back, but let's see if I can recognize them. That one right there, that's clearly my grandfather. I'm kind of looking at the women now here. I don't know, I'd have to look at the label on the back. But that one's definitely my grandfather. And that's the end of that book. And then this one is just called Family Album, Dorothy B. Rowell, book number 2. So this looks like this is a family album, or a family photo of the Brockies. And that's clearly before before my grandmother was born, so she isn't in this photo. This is 1902 or 1903. So William G. Brocky, I'm guessing that's this gentleman here. And then seated. Yeah, see, these are all, wow. Family photo from 1902 or 1903. Before my grandma was even in the picture. The Shriners Band. And I guess William Brocky was a member of that. Not sure which one is him because it isn't marked. Oh, maybe it is marked. Looks like somebody did a circle around that one. From 1939. And the orchestra. Oh, and Charles Brocky had a saloon back in whenever this was, 1915, I guess. And that was him standing in front of his saloon. Grandma Brocky, Aunt Claire Sedine, Antoinette married Walter Bergquist, 1927. So this is a great-great-grandmother and a couple of aunts in the 1920s. And Clara Brocky, when she got married, they don't even know the date, but that's definitely an old photo. Wedding party for William Bergquist and Antoinette Sundin. And I guess Walter got married again after his first wife passed away, and that's his second wife. See, seeing some of these names now, it's allowing me to put kind of the names to pictures and kind of figure out who they are relative to each other. See, I got to figure out who some of these people are even, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure who Frank and Anna Jorg are. But this is her again. Couple pictures of Helen Devlin. This one from 1934. Not sure if this one's older or newer. This looks like actually maybe a younger picture. Some very old family members back in the 70s, late 70s, and even 80s. And I'm not even sure who all these people are. They're obviously distant relatives through my grandmother, because this seems to be focusing primarily on her end of the family.